Today I stand before Tampa Police Major Pat Messmer, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, and Hillsborough State Attorney Susie Lopez to announce the arrest of 3 people in the deadly shooting of Charles Jones, also known by his stage name of Julio Foolio. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation, as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location. This shows the lengths that these individuals were willing to go through and achieve that this murder would occur.
Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio came to Tampa last month to celebrate his birthday and was shot and killed that same night.
Julio Foolio lost his life in the parking lot of a Tampa hotel on June 23, 2024, and while many thought that his passing would be yet another statistic lost to time, it didn't prove to be true. The authorities managed to get their hands on the surveillance footage of the entire thing that went down, and never did they imagine uncovering some shocking truths about the incident, with the most important one being who was behind it. And this was all revealed in a court of law. So it's fair game to say that the culprits will be serving their due time. Just who did it? Was it an old op? And more importantly, why did he choose to end Foolio? Let's find out.
These individuals took extreme measures to try to cover their actions, but they were no match for our investigators.
After Foolio's passing on his birthday, the community has grappled with one question: who is responsible? And though it seemed like it might have been Jungian Ace's handiwork, it turns out that's not the case. Police were able to nail down the suspects after discovering footage of the entire incident, since a Tesla in Sentry mode was able to capture everything.
You saw it on the video. 5 people, though, are charged with murder. The level of planning and coordination between these 5 defendants was truly alarming. It is clear that they all had one purpose in coming to Tampa, and that was to kill. And let's not lose sight of the fact that there are innocent victims in every homicide case. The loved ones who are left behind. His fans knew him as Julio Foolio, but to his mom, he's Charles. We're fighting to make sure that she gets justice.
And once the authorities got their hands on the footage, the case was cracked open, the pieces of the puzzle started falling in place. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office put the 3 men responsible: Sean Andre Gathright, 18, Isaiah Jermaine Chance, 21, and Alicia Latoya Andrews, 21, in handcuffs, and called it a night on July 27, 2024. 3 days later, SWAT officers were able to put Rashad Travion Murphy, age 30, behind bars as well. As for 27-year-old Davian Vershard Murphy, well, he was the only one left with an outstanding warrant. As for the group's background, well, Murphy has been linked to the 1200 gang and Isaiah was linked to the ATK gang. All 5 are currently looking at charges of first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm and conspiracy to commit first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm. But Davion and Sean are in deeper, with 3 counts of attempted murder on their rep sheet. Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw addressed the community shortly after the arrests were made.
A little more than a month ago, a group of individuals with the goal of premeditated murder traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa to commit a heinous crime in our city. I said at that time that we would make arrests and get justice in this case for all the victims, including the mother of Charles Jones, who traveled from Jacksonville this morning to be present for this announcement. Today I stand before Tampa Police Major Pat Messmer, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, and Hillsborough State Attorney Susie Lopez to announce the arrest of 3 people in the deadly shooting of Charles Jones, also known by his stage name of Julio Foolio.
According to him, the reason these men chose to take a life was because of the bad blood between the ATK and the KTA. The men arrested were, surprisingly, not from 1, but 2 gangs, the ATK and the 1200. Apparently, these 2 worked together because they had one common enemy. What's more, as per the Hillsborough County Court documents made public, the state filed an 18-page motion asking for the court to deny bail for the first 3 defendants and the pretrial detention.
No bond. That is what a Hillsborough County judge ruled for the 3 suspects arrested in connection with killing a rapper outside of a Tampa hotel back in June.
But that's hardly the most interesting piece of information. Apparently, this was not Sean's first rodeo. The man who pulled the trigger. Police found rifle casings in his vehicle, which they were able to link to a May 23rd homicide, as well as a prior attempt to take out Foolio in 2023. What's more, on June 27th, authorities turned Chance's and Gathwright's houses upside down and found incriminating evidence. However, what really caught the investigators' eyes was a text on one of the defendants' phones which said, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched. Pop a bottle of Don Julio today. Investigators concluded that the text was a clear reference to the rapper who the men had taken out. But what's even more impressive is that the officers were also able to establish a timeline for how this group was able to take out Foolio. Apparently, on June 22, 2024, the five made it to Tampa from Jacksonville on a silver Chevrolet Cruze and a black Chevrolet Impala, probably after seeing Foolio's posts advertising his birthday celebrations on IG. Their arrival location turned out to be the exact place where Foolio had booked an Airbnb. And so, they scoped out the area where they planned to do the unthinkable. Once done on June 23, 2024, the men put their plan into action. Chance and his girlfriend followed Foolio to Teaser's Gentleman's Club and Truth 18 nightclub in the Cruze, where the deceased rapper was confirmed to show his face. Police officers found video evidence of Chance and his girlfriend present at these locations, sending out updates to Gathright, who was camped out in the Impala. After a while, he ended up making his way to the location as well. From here on, both cars were on Foolio's tail when he was kicked out of the Airbnb and was forced to continue the party at the Home 2 suites. Foolio was in a 3-car convoy, but that didn't shake the men who were on a mission to end his life that night. Video surveillance showed the Cruze driving by Foolio's parked vehicle twice at about 4:30 a.m.
Let's look at this video. This is at the hotel, and you can see the shooters are getting in position for their planned out murder. And they are shooting at Charles now, and you can see that he's the passenger in that car that's moving and trying to flee.
After getting a general layout of the area, the culprits parked their getaway vehicles at the side of the building, and a few minutes later, they were caught getting out and raining down hellfire. 2 of them were armed with AR-style rifles that had bags attached to the ejection port side. Officers believed that these were black mesh brass catchers. For those of you who don't know, brass catchers are attached to rifles for the purpose of collecting casings as they are ejected from the firearm, preventing them from falling on the ground. It helps culprits get away with shootings without leaving any evidence behind. Meanwhile, the third culprit was armed with a pistol. From the muzzle rate of the flashes in the footage, authorities were able to conclude that a Generation 5 Glock was being fired at a fully automatic rate, leaving behind 3 19mm spent shell casings at the scene. In the chaos that ensued, the front windshield of the Dodge Charger that Foolio was in got struck multiple times, killing him on the spot and injuring 2 others. On top of that, the back window of a Nissan Altima, parked about 10 feet away from Foolio's car, was also struck multiple times, injuring yet another victim. A third person ended up getting caught in the middle of it as well, whose name news outlets are refusing to reveal at the moment for his safety. But how exactly were officers able to uncover the identities of everyone involved in the incident? Well, once they uncovered footage that revealed everything, a license plate reader search was carried out for all the cars that the police had spotted in the video. They were able to match them with a Cruze registered to a female who apparently shared an address with a Murphy brother in prison, and an Impala registered to Gathwright's address. And once they got the plates and the owners, it became that much easier for the police to trace back their steps. Apparently, the 2 cars left Jacksonville on June 22, 2024, around the same time Foolio began dropping plans about his activities for the night on IG. Once the job was done, the Impala headed east toward Polk Country. Meanwhile, the Cruze made its way to Jacksonville. After that, the next step for the investigating officers was to narrow down the culprits' vehicles, and they managed to do it easily. On June 26, 2024, folks at Gwinnett County Sheriff found the Cruze pulling into a hotel parking lot in Norcross. Deputies were able to catch Rashad, who was driving the vehicle after a traffic stop, where he attempted to escape his fate in a desperate attempt by running away. But the police managed to put the handcuffs on him and slapped him with misdemeanor charges of obstruction and providing false information to law enforcement. Afterwards, the authorities examined the Cruze closely and were able to match it to the one from the footage, thanks to the similar damage on the rear passenger side. And as the sequence of events proved, luck was on their side, because that very same day, authorities were able to track down the Impala as well. Turns out that it was parked in Polk County, near the home of a family member of Gathright. Police were also able to get a statement from the person in question. According to him, that fateful night, Gathright had rang them up out of the blue, saying that he'd drop by, and he did later. To explain the sudden visit, Gathright said that he had driven some of his friends, and that was it. He had dinner before he hopped on a Toyota 4Runner registered to his mother to Jacksonville, taking his stuff from the Impala along with him. Like they did with Murphy, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office caught Gathright by getting him to stop under the guise of a traffic stop. This is when the officer at the scene smelled marijuana in the car. And so, adhering to guidelines, he searched the vehicle and spotted a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol in the center console. At this point, Gathwright's fate was practically sealed. The police got a free ticket to rummage through his stuff, upon which they found a bag with 223 rifle live rounds and approximately 9 rifle spent casings. However, for some reason, they didn't match the ones the police found at the crime, but 2 other shootings instead. The first one went down on May 23, 2024, and claimed the life of 41-year-old Byron Wesley Walker, who got hit multiple times in the 10500 block of Maidstone Cove Drive. And believe it or not, the second incident involved Julio himself. Apparently, on October 7, 2023, the rapper was ambushed while driving his Dodge Charger. Ops caught him lacking in the 3100 block of West 16th Street. Thankfully, Foolio escaped an untimely passing and only had to deal with an injury to his foot. However, had the police been able to nail Gathright for the first shooting, Foolio might just have been able to avoid his deadly fate as well. The next day, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office knocked down Gathwright's front door. They ended up finding multiple rifles, and at least one equipped with a brass catcher. But the most important discovery of all was the 2 9mm spent casings, which police assumed were a match for the ones found at the scene. That same day, officers dropped by Chance's house as well, where they found Andrews. And he had no plans to hide what he had done, since investigators found 2 Glock 9mm lying around and a poster on Chance's bedroom wall of a drawing with fists making a thumbs down symbol and the words "bully down." FYI, authorities believe that the poster was a reference to Foolio. That said, though the officers uncovered a goldmine of Glocks thanks to the search warrants, they have been unable to locate the one fired during the incident. As for the other 3 involved in the shooting, authorities concluded that they took an Uber from the crime scene that night. And according to reports, the driver who dropped them off at Sean's house in Jacksonville also identified them, adding more incredibility to the evidence. What's more, the police found that Murphy used his personal Cash App to pay for the group's Airbnb in Tampa. As for Alice Andrews, Chance's girlfriend, well, she got caught because she lied to the police multiple times during the interview. To be fair, she dug her own grave since the authorities already had proof of her presence at the scene of the crime through the surveillance footage, yet she claimed that she was lost. And so, at the end of the day, there's considerable evidence tying all 5 to the murder.
It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do.
According to Hillsborough County State Attorney Susie Lopez, the feud stops here. All 5 of these defendants are facing life in the Florida State Prison, even the ones who didn't pull the trigger in Florida. If you participate in the planning of a murder, you can be held accountable for the person's death.
I want to send a clear message to anyone that the city of Tampa is not where you want to come to settle a dispute. You will be charged, you will be arrested, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent possible. Furthermore, if you're a gang member, there's no alleged immunity through a cone of silence, as our detectives will find evidence needed to make an arrest and hold everyone accountable.
The arrests also put Youngin Ace in the clear, who was rumored to be behind the murder. And so Foolio's killers have been put behind bars against expectations. Most of the time, cases like these remain unsolved for years. While Foolio's life was cut short, the arrests offer some justice for his untimely death. Looking at the big picture, the devastating incident serves as a grim reminder of the deadly consequences of gang rivalries and the importance of vigilance in preventing such tragedies. As the suspects face the full weight of the law, the community mourns the loss of another young talent, one that left its mark.